Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday, March the 2nd. We're happy to have you guys in for another episode of the Prime Time program. We made it back from the combine. My voice, however, did not make the trip home from Indianapolis with me. I have left it on the floor of Prime 47 to be stomped on and trodden over en route to one of the most exhausting weeks of the year. But honestly, it's my favorite week of the year, the NFL Combine, because there's so much good information, so much activity, so much to learn. And we did learn a great deal throughout the course of this week. So we will talk about the Titans and how they have emerged out of the NFL's Combine as the biggest winner in the league this year. We will talk about the biggest losers as well. You might be able to tell by the graphic which direction I'm heading in there, and we'll wrap things up with a little Sunday fun day if you're so inclined. We are always grateful for your presence. We had a great time up there in Indy with you last week. We really appreciate you guys hanging out and keeping up with all the coverage. I know Easton and Sam did a great job up in Indy as well. A to Z had a big contingent of different people covering the draft, covering college football angles, covering NFL teams and all manner of other different things. So really proud of the work that everybody got in and really appreciative that you guys always come along for the ride with us. So when we, Afios says, does Buck ever get a day off? Yeah, man, I get plenty of time off. Listen, this is not a job. I mean, it is a job. It pays the mortgage on my home and, make sure that the cat has enough food in the bowl on a regular basis. It's a job, but it's the funnest shit in the world. I wouldn't do it for free because that's not who I am, but I certainly enjoy the holy hell out of this. And if I got vacation coming up in the near future, well, I'm going to actually turn vacation into a work vacation because we're going down to Palm Beach. We're going to make a weekend out of that. But owners meetings also happens to be in Palm Beach. Don't tell my girlfriend that. And so I'm going to squeeze a little work in on the vacation as well. But I love this stuff, so I'm happy to do it for you. We need, Ben Hall says, Buck been hitting the lung darts. Yeah, I mean, a week with Kirby Allen Kirby, there's going to be a cigarette or two smoked and all manner of other things. And I think the earliest night I had in Indy was 12:30 a.m., and that's because I didn't go out that night. I went to a basketball game in Bloomington with my sister. The rest of it was, 1:30, 2:30, 4:30 a couple of times. And then you're right back at it at 8 a.m. in the morning Eastern to talk to the players and do the radio show and catch up with scouts and coaches and general managers. And that's just what Combine Week is. So you guys are going to, Curtis knows, yeah, you guys are going to have to, you're going to have to just bear with me this week with the voice because there's nothing I can do about that. But like I said, there's a lot of good stuff out there for you. And so we will work our way through all the different things that we learned in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Before we get started, do me the courtesy, if you would be so kind, of sharing this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, wherever you are spending your evening with us. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, hit the like button, hit that thumbs up button for us, and we would be eternally grateful for your participation. That way it does help us grow the show, and we are in growth mode. Right now, we're talking Titans, we're talking offseason, we're talking draft. Free agency is 10 days from now. That's going to be maybe not as filled with big names as it has been in years past, and I don't expect the Titans to be top of market spenders again, so maybe it'll be a little less exciting this year than it was last year, but it'll still be critically important. And of course, we'll have plenty of coverage throughout the course of that with you. Share this program around and we'll go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studio. Happy to be back in the Zen Sports Studio. And I'm proud as always to be presented to you. I'm Buck Rising, if you didn't know. And I'm proud as always to be presented to you by Zen Sports, promo code ATOZTN. They got a new offer for you guys, and I'll tell you about that a little later in the show. Use that promo code, get up to $100 on your no-danger first wager. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. By Trumav Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. just the best physical fitness plan that's on offer at TruMavFitness.com. And Bart Durham Injury Law. If you've experienced an automobile accident, you deserve to be paid. And Bart Durham Injury Law will get you taken care of. BartDurham.com for more info. Okay, so we got a long week, and we got a lot of stuff to kind of dissect the aftermath of the NFL Combine, because, it feels, it is almost a week ago when Mike Borgonzi and Brian Callahan went to the podium up in Indy, spoke on a different number of things, did the radio show that Tuesday as well, both of them, and talked about a number of different things, or expanded on a couple of different things. And since then, they've been up there basically since today. Now, that's different. First and foremost, let's start there. It's not to, kick Ran Carthon while he's down, and there were some mitigating circumstances around Rand's very early exit from Indy last year. But Ran Carthon, his final day at the Combine, and Brian Callahan's final day at the Combine, was Wednesday of last year. Now, both head coach and GM were asked to come back to Nashville because they had the stadium groundbreaking ceremony, Nissan Stadium, the new Nissan Stadium, 1 year removed from the start of construction. So that's something we're going to talk about this week on the radio show as well, for those of you guys who are interested in updates there. Perhaps we'll touch on it on a secondary primetime schedule or segment. But they left Indy on Wednesday, and there's a lot of things that happen. Basically, the workouts don't even start till Thursday up in Indianapolis. And you can say, yeah, that's you can watch that stuff on TV. You can get all the information. You can use your phone and keep tabs on things that are going on up there, but you can't get that human-to-human interaction. You can't interact with the people in the suites next to you. For example, the Titans, the last time they traded the number 1 overall pick in 2016, they had as neighbors, sweet neighbors in Lucas Oil, the Los Angeles Rams. They ended up starting the bones of the trade that would result in Jack Conklin and ultimately Derrick Henry as a part of that deal in 2016. But that's because they were in close communication prior to the Combine, kept in communication throughout the course of the Combine, and then ultimately 2 weeks before the draft that year, got a deal done. When you leave Indy early, yeah, there's still things that you can do remotely, but there's a lot more to be gained there. And I know Mike Borgonzi and Brian Callahan, if they are not back in Nashville yet, they were leaving today from Indy. So they stayed through all of it. They stayed through the offensive line workouts. And that matters, especially for a team that's the belle of the ball, the number 1 overall pick of the Tennessee Titans this year. So with everything, MB says, Buck, was it at the Combine or Senior Bowl that Rand and Callahan left early? They didn't even go to Senior Bowl last year. They did not. Neither of them went to Senior Bowl last year. Or excuse me. Yeah, in 2023, they did not go to Senior Bowl because they were 2024. They did not go to the Senior Bowl because they were putting together the staff. That was the reason. The explanation that was given to us, both of them were there the entire week of the Senior Bowl this week. And then in the Combine, Rand and Callahan both left early from last year's Combine. This year, they stayed through the entire course of it. So some of those things do matter at this point in time. Bub Exotic 88 says, any truth that the Giants and Titans have a deal in place? No, there's no truth to that whatsoever. The Giants have called the Titans. The Jets have called the Titans, but this is not new information. A deal in place. No, that's not, not on Sunday, March the 2nd. Perhaps that ends up being true as we get closer to the draft, but no, there's offers. That doesn't mean that they have a deal in place. I don't know if you're confusing those two things, but something becomes more eminently available, we'll let you know. And if that was the truth, that would be what we're talking about tonight. That's a way bigger deal than Combine winners and losers. But this is important to note because there is something here that we have to talk about, and that is who came out of the NFL Combine as a team, as an organization, as the biggest winner. And there are some interesting factors to this involving the number 1 overall pick and the Jets, the Giants, the Titans, the Browns, all the teams picking in the top of the draft order. Who would you select as the NFL Combine's biggest winner as an organization? It's your Two Rivers Ford take. It's made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com for more information. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service, always on offer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more info today. Biggest winner out of the NFL Combine. Who is it to you? Brian Malone says the Commanders. Yeah, we were speaking of no days off. I did my I had my debut on Fox Sports Radio yesterday. We did a couple of we did an evening shift, me and Jason Fitz, and we had the Tennessee buzzer beater over Alabama happen while we were live, and we had the Deebo Samuel trade happen while we were live. So it was a lot of fun to do that show with Fitzy yesterday. You can actually check that out, the Fox Sports Radio podcast that we did. Bert, I might ask you to go find that and drop that link in the comment section for people if they want to hear that. Don't give me middle fingers; just do it, damn it. I think that there was a couple of different things about Washington that were interesting coming into this, but getting Deebo Samuel, it's fascinating. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm curious to see how big an impact Deebo has and how Cliff Kingsbury is going to use Deebo Samuel, because Kyle Shanahan and his deployment of Deebo Samuel was as big a factor in Deebo's success, I feel like, and in the Niners' overall success, as it was just predicated off Deebo's skill. Now, Deebo is obviously a skilled player, but you got to have the right mind, the offensive mind to put him in place. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is a very gifted offensive play caller, but it's going to be different. So I'm fascinated to see what that looks like. Deebo for a 5th-round pick, though, not a bad deal at all at this point in time. So you could also mention the Rams. They keep their quarterback. That's who MB brings up. Given that they basically called Matt Stafford's bluff and they gave him a pay raise, but maybe not quite the pay raise that he was looking for ultimately, they keep their quarterback in place. Vernon Sanford pointing out the obvious. My voice is gone. Well, yeah, you go out for a week in Indy and see what you sound like after the fact. I'm the fact that the only thing that's gone is my voice at this point in time, and until I complete my expense reports, a considerable amount of cash is also gone. But that's always a risk-reward proposition, and some of that can be expense, and some of that very much cannot be expense. But that's fine. I think that my voice being gone is definitely not a winner in this conversation. You guys are losers for having to listen to me with this voice. But beyond that, the Titans were my biggest winner coming out of the Combine. And I'll explain to you why here in just a second, because, it's a rare enough thing when I give them a compliment. But we do have compliments to pay them, and we will do so right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to be paid if you've had an automobile accident or if you have been in a personal injury situation. That is an area of Bart Durham Injury Law's practice as well. They will go above and beyond to get you the help that you need, because you deserve to be paid, and you can get your free consultation online at bartdurham.com. Blair Durham and the team have been helping Middle Tennesseans and people in Kentucky for more than 75 years. Go to bartdurham.com and understand all the areas that they can help you today. So the Titans are my biggest winner out of the NFL Combine, and I'll tell you exactly why. They came out of this thing without showing any of their cards. Now, I know Titans fans would like some clarity on the situation. You would like instantaneous news or reaction or results, because that's what it is, instant gratification. And I get that. You're impatient. It's a long way to go between now and the end of April, although, it's March the 2nd. We're moving pretty quickly here at this point. The draft will be upon us before you know it, but there's still a matter of months, basically, to go before you actually get this. Before you actually get the satisfaction of knowing who your 1st-round pick, your 2nd-round pick, everything else is going to be. And so as you look at the Titans, I think it's good that nobody knows what they're doing, because this is a leverage game right now. And the Titans, even though it's not the best number 1 overall pick or best draft to have the number 1 overall pick in, the fact that still nobody knows exactly what they're going to do, that's a beneficial situation for them at this point in time.
Mike Borgonzi is now the general manager of the Tennessee Titans and just happened to have the 1st overall pick. Has this week been an absolute whirlwind, or are we good and we're settled and we're ready to just get after this offseason?
We're good. The whole month has been a little bit of a whirlwind, just getting settled in. Just meeting with the staff here over the last month in meetings. So when you show up here, this feels normal now that we're here. But it's just really creating that synergy with the staff through the meetings. And now this is just another really touch point for us.
First overall pick. We haven't seen Abdul Carter. We did not see Genty. We are not seeing Cam Ward or Shador throw. And Travis Hunter didn't work out the defensive backs. First overall pick, so much weighing on you guys holding the keys. Have you at least started having conversations where we're going to be narrowing down position or maybe even player at this point in the process?
It's still early, Peter, but it's a process. So we have this one touch point here. There'll be pro days that we go to, private workouts, 30-day visits. So we're going to take the entire process. This is an important pick here, number one pick in the draft, so we're not taking that lightly. This is part of the process here, kind of like phase one for us here.
In the quarterback position, we'll see. Obviously, we can go free agency, we can go trade. Those conversations, I'm sure, are being had as well.
We've had those discussions, but once again, we need to gather more information here over the next month. So we'll get to sit down. It's the first time really we've got to sit down with some of these guys that we haven't seen before. So, it was good to get them in the interview process here this week, even though some of them didn't work out. But we'll have time to visit with them here over the next month.
It's just so funny to go from, Mike Borgonzi is going to say as little as humanly possible. Obviously, he spoke there for about a minute and a half, but didn't really get much out of him. And that's fine, right? He's keeping his cards close to the vest. That's who Mike Borgonzi is. And that's the way that he's going to operate with this thing. And you should be glad for that because that maintains the most amount of leverage. It's also helped by the fact that Matt Stafford is not leaving LA. So that helps drive up the level of interest in the quarterback class, whether or not you consider it to be weaker. Some people do, some people don't. But you have the number one overall pick, and maybe you take the quarterback. And I think it's entirely possible that if the Titans still have the number one overall draft pick by the time we get to the end of April, that Cam Ward is the pick for the Titans. That wouldn't shock me at all if they're holding on to this thing. But if they don't, and I think they, at the core of it, whether or not they say this publicly, I believe they would prefer to trade the pick because they have so little on the roster and so many needs to address. Quarterback, of course, is one of them, but it's just one of them. It is the most important one, but there are so many others that will be critically important to this team succeeding, not just in the immediate, but in the long term. I think that they would prefer to trade it if all things were equal. We'll see how much more interest they can get out of it, how much better the offers can get. If there was a good enough offer, I think there's reason to believe that they might even have moved it by now, but they just got through the combine. They just got through having real in-person conversations about this stuff. And for the Titans, more leverage is better than less leverage. And that's why I believe them to be the biggest winner. So we will see what becomes of this pick in the coming weeks. And they, like I said, they could still take the quarterback, but my whole point with this is they're winners because there's no need to rush, and you can clearly tell that they're going to take, and they continue to say that they're going to take as much time on this as humanly possible. So that's why the Titans are the biggest winners to me. Brandon Connor says, Cam Ward, no matter what, go get Cam Ward. Well, no, that's not the way that you operate. I get people who think that way, and I don't fault people who think that way at all. I don't blame fans for feeling definitive or making declarative statements about the quarterback, but you can think that way, but your team should never think that way. It cannot be something no matter what. You have to have contingency plans. There has to be a plan B and a plan C and a plan D if you're thorough and well thought out in this process. It's completely reasonable to look at the quarterback. He is the best quarterback in the draft class, indisputably. I think Cam Ward is head and shoulders better, or at least more talented than Shador is. He's got a higher ceiling, a significantly higher ceiling than Shador does. Shador could have a fine NFL career. They both could have fine NFL careers. That's all well and good, but that's not the operation. At least that's not a good operation. It cannot be player X no matter what. You have to give yourself some wiggle room at this point in time. All right, so with everything that's going on, Titans come out of the combine as the biggest winners. Who are the biggest losers? You might be able to tell which direction I'm heading in based on what the graphic looks like, but we'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people, the delightful people, the excellent people at Trumav Fitness in the Gulch. They're excellent because they will bring out excellence in you, specific to your physical fitness. And they have a variety of different ways that they can do that. And they're even so confident in their process that they will offer you your first workout free, because once you try it, you will love it. You will be addicted to working out with the Trumav Fitness team. Go to TrumavFitness.com for that first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. TrumavFitness.com. Okay. As we look at the teams who came out of the combine as losers, who in particular comes to mind? Which franchise comes to mind? I really had a hard time nailing down one, so I'm just going to make it a general region. The biggest losers to me, and it's losers plural, are the New York franchises, the Giants and the Jets. And you'll hear a couple of clips here why. But first and foremost, the New York Giants with the 3rd overall pick wanted Matt Stafford, didn't get Matt Stafford. Now they're considering all options on the table, including trading up or even Aaron Rodgers. That is a steep drop off from what they wanted to get done for an organization that is desperate. They are in desperation mode. You've got things like Joe Shane saying that he's happy for Saquon Barkley for winning the Super Bowl. He shouldn't be. That's going to be the biggest reason he gets fired. And I don't even think it's an if he gets fired. It's a when he gets fired to me. So they lose out on the Matt Stafford sweepstakes at the combine additionally. And that's just putting them in a worse position if they have to trade up to get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I was actually at dinner last night at St. Elmo's, ran into Will Campbell's parents and was explaining to them how to ignore all the mock drafts. Just focus on the process. No offense, guys. I love all of your mock drafts. I want to turn the attention to the guys that these players block for, the quarterbacks. And obviously one of the biggest stories this week was Matthew Stafford staying with the Los Angeles Rams, which of course had ramifications all around the league. It means Aaron Rodgers, who did view the Rams as a prime location, still needs work, still does want to play, and the New York Giants are looking into Aaron Rodgers, as they are for all of the veteran quarterbacks available. And I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if the Giants either trade up to 1 or draft a quarterback at 3. The union between Rodgers and the Giants does make some sense. Let me explain why. Either way, if they draft a quarterback at 1 or 3 or wherever they end up drafting, they probably need some sort of a bridge starter. Aaron Rodgers, is going to have a little chip on his shoulder, wants to prove everyone right, wants to show that he's still got it, still does want to play. If he could do it in the same city as he was with the Jets, obviously that would be something that he would like. Plus, anytime you draft a quarterback, then have a bridge starter playing, you say, oh, when's the rookie going to play? When's the rookie going to play? When you have a first ballot Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers starting, that avoids a lot of that conversation. The Giants are looking into it, but certainly.
And the Giants aren't even in the worst spot of the 2 New York teams, because the Jets are in a worse spot. They are furthest back in the draft order. They're picking 7th of any of these teams, whether you're talking about the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the Giants. I know that's not the specific order. The Raiders are picking 6th and the Giants are picking 3rd. But you understand my meaning. All these teams that are in need of a quarterback, the Jets are the furthest back at number 7. They have arguably the best roster of any of these teams that don't have a quarterback situation figured out. But they have so many obstacles to resolving their quarterback situation that they are going to have to give up the most if they want to come up and get one of these first-round draft pick quarterbacks. Perhaps Shedeur falls to them. We'll see what happens with Shedeur. I'm very curious to see what happens with Shedeur, because everybody that I talked to this week acted like, and acting like it is one thing and actually believing it is another based on how these draft boards play out. But everybody that I talked to, it's Cam Ward and then the rest of the quarterback class. It's not even Cam and Shedeur. It's Cam Ward and the rest of them. From a talent standpoint, from a ceiling standpoint, New York, man, if they, it's not, Daniel Jones and Shedeur Sanders are not comparable, because I do think that Shedeur Sanders brings more to the table and he was a significantly more accomplished collegiate quarterback than Daniel Jones was. But I remember when Daniel Jones, or do you remember if he went 6th or 7th in 2019? It was either 6th or 7th before they picked Dexter Lawrence mid-teens. But it just felt like, okay, they're taking a quarterback because they need one, and that's the one that's there. And sometimes that works out. And, had other things gone right in New York and they hadn't ruined him behind a terrible offensive line, 6th. The chat points out. I appreciate that. if other things had worked out and New York had been a better run franchise and they hadn't ruined Daniel Jones, then maybe Daniel Jones would have been a successful quarterback. It's a hypothetical. The best players at the top of the draft class go to the worst teams. So they're going to be in a bad spot. But I just feel like if Shador, for example, goes in the top 10, I'm not comparing the players, Daniel Jones and Shador Sanders, but I'm comparing the circumstances. It just feels like that's an overdraft at this point in time. Now, if there's only 10 players, as most scouts will tell you, as most personnel evaluators will tell you in this draft class, there's only 10 players really that most teams would give a first round grade to. So if there's only 10 players with a first round grade, but obviously you got 32 teams picking in the first round, then somebody's going to get overdrafted, right? The bulk of them are going to get overdrafted. But I am curious to see exactly what happens with Shador if a team is just going to take the quarterback because they need it, or if he will go in a spot that is more appropriate relative to what his actual talent ceiling is as a prospect. Doesn't mean that he can't go on to be a great NFL quarterback. They both said this week, and I appreciated the sentiment. Doesn't matter where you get drafted. You have to produce no matter what. Curtis said, thought the Browns were taking a quarterback at 2, regardless. Will be interesting. That is something that Adam Schefter did espouse. That's the thing that he believes most concretely, that there will be a quarterback going to the Browns at 2. But, nothing is concrete this early in the process. And while that can be the thing that Schefter feels the most concrete about, it still may not happen. But I get his logic for it, certainly. Brinkerhead on YouTube says, Shador is better than you think. Browns only want Ward. I don't know that to be true. It's not that I don't think Shador's bad. I just don't think that he's great. And I think if you're drafting a quarterback in the top 10, you better have a pretty big degree of confidence that he's going to be great at some point in his career. But, I don't think Jalen Hurts is the most talented quarterback in the world. I think he's a dog. I think he's an absolute badass. I think he's a winner. But he's not the best quarterback in the world, but he's on an excellent team. So if Shador ends up in a situation like that, and again, those aren't similar players, but you get my meaning with the metaphor. You don't have to be a great quarterback to be a part of a great team. You can be a good quarterback that helps elevate a team to greatness. And I think Jalen Hurts is an excellent example of that. I think he's one of the toughest players in the NFL. I think he's one of the most efficient players in the NFL. I think he's one of the most effective players in the NFL. That doesn't mean that he's got the best skill set as a quarterback, if you get my meaning there. With everything that's going on right now, I think that the 2 biggest losers were the New York teams, and I don't think it's particularly close. Let's do a little Sunday fun day here before my voice gives out on me on this Sunday evening. We appreciate your participation. As always, a quick reminder that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com and get your dream address without the stress. GaryAshton.com for more information. So as we look at all the things that happened this weekend, there was a lot of fun stuff that came out of the Combine. It's just a fun time in the sports calendar generally. Combine's obviously a big part of it. But what was the best thing you saw on the internet this weekend? What was the thing that brought a smile to your face, the thing that you enjoyed the most? I'm watching a really great basketball game right now between San Antonio and OKC. I've been watching a lot more NBA, I guess, football downtime in the calendar, obviously, for the actual sport. I guess I could go back and watch more old games if I wanted to, but I'm really enjoying the NBA for reasons that I got into the Court of Gold documentary on Netflix. It's kind of, reinvigorated my interest in the NBA, if I'm being completely honest, even though it's not Olympic basketball, and that obviously it's not international basketball, which inspires more interest, but I've really enjoyed the basketball season so far. I know it was an awesome moment for Tennessee yesterday, that Jemai Meshack 3, unthinkable to beat number 6 Alabama at home. Josh Heupel doing the smoking the cigar symbol too yesterday was sick, getting the crowd hype as Meshack hit that final 3 at the buzzer to give number 5 Tennessee a win over number 6 Alabama. And honestly, I would probably pick that, but Bert pulled a phenomenal video of one of the offensive line workouts from Armand Membu out of Missouri. He is an offensive tackle. He's a right tackle, ironically enough. And just watching him run the 40 was as cool a thing as I've seen, because this dude was moving at that size.
Be a spot.
That's 10.
That's a good start. That is athletic.
Look at him go.
4.91. You let out a primal scream when you do freaky stuff. That's what he did right there. That was fantastic.
And the fans here letting him hear it. It seemed like he let out a primal scream every 10 yards, and then the last 10 was just one long scream. And
so that's Armand Membu out of Missouri and his 40-yard dash. He's an interesting body type. He's got short arms. He's undersized for a tackle. He's 6'4", 332. He's probably going to be a guard at the next level, but in 33.5-inch arms, not ideal. Arm length for an offensive tackle, but he's one of the most athletic players out there, which at least keeps him in the conversation to play tackle at the next level. We'll see where he ends up. I would be surprised. If I was drafting him, I would be more interested putting him in the interior. But it was a cool combine performance. There was a lot of cool combine performance. It's always cool to see people, going out there and killing the workouts and driving up their price tag or their draft spot. And some people do hurt themselves in the combine as far as their draft stock goes. But you try to celebrate the people that get the wins there. And he was hauling ass. 4.91 for a 40 is crazy for a dude that size. Absolutely crazy. And he's somebody who's a young player, but he's a talented prospect. And it's just the question of he lacks that prototypical NFL tackle size. I would be curious to see if teams are willing to test that theory to make an exception for him to play tackle at the next level. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight because my voice can't take it anymore and I need to go drink some tea. But radio show tomorrow, we are going to have Mike Golick Jr. He was at the Combine for the first time, and he had a lot of interesting takeaways from it. We're going to talk more about these theoretical trades that are being posed and the conversations that the Titans are having with other teams who are interested in the number one overall pick. We'll also have Ron Slay to talk about that Alabama-Tennessee game. So you can come hang out with us from 10 to 1 tomorrow, and I hear that there's a special surprise, maybe an announcement to start the show. I don't know. You'll have to tune in at 10 a.m. to find out. But it's going to be an interesting week. We got a lot of fun stuff going on. And I can't wait to spend it hanging out with you guys. See you there.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville. Go home!